Welcome to 6 Million Seeds. I'm Meryl Fury.
And I'm Carrie Bruno. We are healthcare professionals and co-creators of this podcast.
This episode is brought to you by the magic of honeybees. This week on 6 Million Seeds, our guest is Amy Tasetano. She has a Bachelor's of Business Administration in Industrial and Organizational Psychology. She has also completed the Plant-Based Nutrition Certificate through the Colin Campbell Center for Nutrition Studies, in addition to becoming a nutritarian health coach and being a podcast host. As you can see, she has quite the list of accomplishments and is passionate about the whole food plant-based lifestyle. Today, our conversation starts with how she ate growing up and then transitions to how her and her husband adopted a plant-based lifestyle. We also discuss how she became a pod leader and started advocating for and supporting people through their transition to this lifestyle. She provides some beneficial tips for parents and caregivers, making it easier to incorporate these changes into your family's lifestyle. Finally, Amy provides some of her favorite recipes and a free offer for everyone listening. So be sure to stick around until the end.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to 6 Million Seeds. My name is Meryl.
My name is Carrie.
And today we are here with Amy. Wait, I got to tell you how she told me to pronounce her last name. Amy Tasetano. So nice for you to be here. We're grateful to have you. Right?
Welcome.
Well, thank you. Greetings to both of you.
Well, thanks. Amy is actually in the beautiful state of Florida, which is very different than where we are, which is in Wisconsin. But yeah, so wonderful to have you. Let's jump into the interview. I actually, before I go any further, I met Amy through Plant Pure Communities. She is a Plant Pure pod leader, and we are both on the pod advisory committee for Plant Pure Communities. So this is how I met Amy. She's dynamic. She's into a lot. She's got her own podcast. She's a professional plant-based eater, life coach, and just has a lot to offer. So it should be an exciting interview. So tell us a little bit about your background.
Okay, well, I grew up in New York City, and I was going for a business degree, but I liked psychology, so I wound up getting a BBA in industrial organizational psychology. And I grew up not plant-based because I didn't even know what vegan was, so I didn't know anything about it. But now I'm, as you said, I'm a plant-based life coach. I have my eCornell plant-based nutrition certificate, and I just recently completed and received the Dr. Furman Nutritarian Coach Certificate. And I do a podcast. I do it on YouTube and Facebook Live, and I interview wonderful and amazing people who are doing great things in the plant-based world, like you, Meryl. I had you on the show, and I've interviewed physicians, dietitians, chefs, experts, and people with amazing weight loss and healing stories, because it is my goal to not only being a coach and helping people on their journey, but also to spread the word of this lifestyle and hope to make some ripples out there in the world and change some things.
So you grew up in New York.
Yes.
Now I grew up in New Jersey. So I know what food was like for me growing up. What kind of food did you eat as a kid?
Well, see, now I'm a little older, so there was the McDonald's came probably when I was a young teenager. We had McDonald's come to our, even though we were in a city, so we weren't like rural or anything, but McDonald's really just didn't come out to many places until I was probably a teenager. And my mom was a stay-at-home mom, and she cooked home cooked meals. And so we had, but being in the melting pot, we had a lot of mom and pop shops. So we had a German delicatessen and a Jewish delicatessen. We had the pizza places. So we had a lot of wonderful international flavors. But my family, we weren't like dirt poor, but we didn't have the extra money with 3 kids, family of 5, to just go out and eat all the time. So sometimes as a special treat, we might have a pizza, but it wasn't like it is today where people say, what do you want for dinner? And then they just look at the speed dial and decide what
All
it's
right.
going to be. So I guess
Right.
that was a good thing, and I always tell my father-in-law, because he's going to be 89. And I said, I think part of the reason why you're so healthy is because you grew up during the Depression and you were starving all the time. So you were doing intermittent fasting. You didn't even know it.
So you said you were eating somewhat healthy growing up, and you really did like the fruits and vegetables. So what turned the tide for you and going towards a fully plant-based lifestyle?
My husband, Rick, was on blood pressure medicine. He was on the cholesterol medicine. And my parents, well, my grandparents and my mom, they had type 2 diabetes, and my numbers kept changing. And it was not going to be long before I was going to be medicated. And I was really concerned about Rick, really, really worried, I mean, we have a really great relationship. And for me, I loved him in any size, but I was just really worried that something, could possibly happen too early on. And like I was saying before, I was eating a lot of things that I thought were healthy. So, I mean, I would have cheese because that was promoted. I would have, the sugar substitutes. Sometimes I would have candy, and sometimes we would have some junk food and go out to eat. But I always said, give me the dressing on the side. And I had the olive oil, just all the things that we learned that were healthy. That's basically, how I ate. And I thought that just the pounds kept creeping on, and things, I just didn't feel very good. And like I said, the health issues were my main concern, especially, heart disease and all those things. But I just figured that was, I didn't know that it made a difference as far as what you ate. I didn't know anything about that. And then around 2012, I was at home, and sometimes we never have the TV on all the time, but the TV, I turned on the TV. I think back then you had to go on TV to watch for the weather. You can just find it. So I think I was searching for the weather or something, and PBS came on, and there was Dr. Joel Furman, and he was doing a PBS special, and I just became glued to the TV. I love science, and I just really was very interested. And all he kept saying was, what you eat makes you. So it's either it's going to harm you or heal you. And he was making all kinds of claims about how if you changed over to a plant-based lifestyle, that you could get off your blood pressure medication and your cholesterol medication and avoid the type 2 diabetes. All these things that he was saying were the things that I was concerned about. And then he said, and it's the same diet if you want to lose weight. Well, I mean, how can you go wrong with that? And so every once in a while, of course, we didn't have anything that we didn't record shows or anything. So every once in a while, I'd go over the TV and see if he was on, And so finally, Rick was like, "You like PBS? Just donate, Why this stupid thing?" And I said, "Well, there's a problem with that." I said, "The problem is that if I read all that material and I watch all the DVDs and all that," I said, "then I'm going to learn something that I can't unlearn."
Mm-hmm.
And then what do we do? Right? And he surprised me. He said, "I'm willing to try it with you, but only if it tastes good."
Oh.
And that was kind of concerned me because
Yes.
he liked all the pepperoni and the cheeses. I mean, he loved all those things. And with Dr. Furman, not only do you eat the food that's healthy as far as a plant-based lifestyle, but you don't have sugar, oil, or salt. So that was going to make it a challenge. And I didn't realize how much of a challenge that was going to be, because that stuff really does make your food taste very good. And when you're not eating it, it really changes it quite a bit.
Yes, it
Yeah,
does.
sure.
Yeah, and but he was willing to try it. And the great thing is that first I was cooking the recipes and they didn't taste very good. I mean, there was some times where I really wanted to just gag because it was, it was just awful. And I think it was because of not having especially the salts. I think the salt really changes the profile. But I really wanted it to be successful, and I really wanted Rick to like it. And back then there wasn't a lot of support on the internet like it is now.
Right.
And so I was scouring the internet, going to try and find other books and other people. And I really wasn't finding much help. And then at the same time, for the first week, Rick did not feel good at all. He felt like he was coming down with the flu, and he said, I really want to try this. But he said, I'm going to go for the week. And he said, but after another week, if I don't start feeling better, I don't think I'm meant to eat this way.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, some of the things that I dealt with before this lifestyle was, I had health things, I had constipation, I had sinus infections, he had migraines. But for me, if I didn't eat like every 2 or 3 hours on my standard American diet, I would get shaky and cranky. And so I used to have frozen candy bars hanging out in the freezer, because if I was trying to make dinner and I would grab one of the candy bars and just kind of eat something to stabilize myself. And I figured, this is what it's like when you're starting to get diabetes or I didn't really know what it was. I just figured that was what, normal. So I was kind of worrying about this lifestyle, but what I liked about it was you could eat, practically everything that you wanted, as long as it was on the plan and until you were comfortably full. So, but like I said, the food didn't taste that great at first. So Rick, he jumped into the kitchen, which I am so blessed. And he started to make the food, and we did some research, and we found ways to make food taste like it had the salt in it without adding the salt, and to make it taste sweet without adding any of the sweeteners. So really things started to work out. And then, the second week or so, he wasn't feeling those flu-like symptoms anymore, and he started to feel a little bit better. He was on those medications. So we were talking to the physician, and we got a blood pressure monitor, and several times a day he was recording his blood pressure, so that this way we could make sure that he wasn't becoming dangerously over medicated. And fortunately, his physician was willing to work with him and titrate him down safely off of the medication, which happened rapidly. His blood pressure went down rapidly. So it was just fantastic. And the pounds started coming off, which was really nice. And within a year, if you look at the middle picture, that's what we look like, and then we started to do more exercising to try to get a little more toned, and it was amazing. And I know that most people, I tried like a little bit of dieting, but not really, nothing serious or anything. But it would last maybe a day, because I'd be all shaky and I would need to eat, and I'd say, I can't diet. But this wasn't a diet, it was a lifestyle change. So it really worked out well, because I wasn't starving.
Right.
So that was just a great thing. So like a lot of other people, when they find this lifestyle and they find that it works for them, I started to get more information, going on the internet, looking at different things, and you couldn't shut me up.
She was born again. Yes.
Yeah. Now that's not good, because you can really turn people off that way. And so I started telling our children about it. And at that time, they were like ages 18 to 22. So I, even though they're not children, but what else, offspring, whatever you call them. And so they weren't living at home, or if they did, they were in school and coming back and forth. So it was up to them to decide what they were going to eat, just like it was for me when I was their age. But every time they'd come home, I'd find some kind of YouTube video about factory farming or whatever. I was trying to find ways of convincing them. And so finally, one of my daughters said to me, we got the message. We know, Mom, and we're gonna make the adjustments that we're gonna make to our lives. But you can't keep, every time we see you, can't keep talking about this. You have a message to talk about, so you should tell other people besides us. So that's what I started to do. And so my husband Rick, he said, why don't we go to the different places that these people meet, as far as seeing the conferences or a cruise or something like that, which was really great. So I wound up getting to meet a lot of the plant-based people, the rock stars in the world. So, Chef AJ and Dr. Bernard and Dr. Clapper, Colin Campbell, Dr. Greger, and more people that are on this slide, because it was just something that was really important to me. And I started to find them on YouTube and watch their different videos and so forth. So it was really great to learn about it. And so then I tell people, because they had this saying that they say genes load the gun and diet and lifestyle pull the trigger. And I say, I don't worry about my genes now that I fit into my skinny jeans. So but the change, it wasn't just the change as far as my weight or Rick's weight, which was really most important to me, but it was him coming off of the medications, and it was me not feeling shaky and cranky in between meals. Actually, I could go, 4-6 hours and not even think about eating anymore, which was very strange, because all through my childhood, I always was that way. I thought it was just normal. And when people said they were hungry, I thought that that's what it was, but that's not hungry. That what I learned from Dr. Furman, it's not true hunger,
Right.
that you're experiencing. It's withdrawal.
Yeah, or you're empty is what that is, right?
Right. And you're trying to get another fix from these highly palatable processed foods.
Right.
So, and all along when we first got married, Rick said to me, one day we'll renew our vows, and then as I was gaining all that weight, I had saved my wedding dress, and he said, if you could fit into your wedding dress, we'll renew our vows. So after this weight loss, it was really cool, because I actually did fit into my original wedding dress. And
Wow.
for 31st anniversary, it had like 1 million buttons going up the back. I was really nervous because I think a zipper is easier to fit into than buttons. But yeah, it buttoned right up, and I got to wear my original wedding dress, and we renewed our vows, which was so special. And just knowing that I felt that we had more years that we were going to be able to look forward to in the future. So again, I everywhere I was going, I was talking about this lifestyle to whoever would listen to me, which is not good. And I think some family members might have, especially my mom at the time with her type 2 diabetes. I kept begging her, please, please, please. But we all know that a lot of times our family members are not hearing us. So I wish that I didn't say it as much as I did. So then I said to Rick, I would love if we could find other people that are eating this way. And I want to go on that website Meetup, and I want to make a group. And he said, how many people you think can come to the group? Like 2? How many people know about this lifestyle, much less have tried it? And, so I said, well, let's just give it a try. So he said, okay, fine. And what I did was I found a local restaurant after going through a bunch of them, I finally found one that was willing to prepare a meal, a plant-based meal for us. And I put it out there on Meetup. And the first meeting that we had, I had over 30 people that showed up, which I was really surprised.
Right.
And I was really happy about that. So, and that was before Plant Pure Communities had the pod network. So that was something that, and then once the Plant Pure Communities, I found out about them, and then I decided to make that into a pod. And I actually have two of them in two locations that are close to me. So it's just been so nice. And I encourage anybody, if you can go on the Plant Pure Communities website or on Meetup, and there are people out there that are having groups that are meeting. Some of them are meeting outdoors, and get together and have that support. I think that that's really, really important.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we had a lot of potluck dinners, which was really nice. And we got to share a lot of recipes with each other, and just have a lot of camaraderie. And then I would have local people, like one woman in an area she did hula hoop lessons. So I had her come in, and just to make it fun. And it was just a lot of fun to be with like-minded people. And I think that they all really benefited from it. And I tried to make it a lot of fun. I had a lot of different things that I did to make it fun with everybody. And I think it was a really great experience for us. And I actually wound up doing recipe demos at the meetings also. So I would, and for me, like I said, Rick is the one that he kind of took over the kitchen. And I'm not really, I think a cook pays attention, and I don't have a good attention span for those things. So if something's cooking, I'll go over to the sink and say, let me wash these dishes while that's cooking. And you know what happens then. So I found recipes that didn't have a lot of ingredients, but they were SOS free, which means no sugar, oil, or salt. And they were plant-based. And I called them, hey, I can make that. So, and I said to people at the meetings, if I can make this, then anybody can do it. And I really thought that was a good way to make it more approachable, because a lot of people are not in touch with their kitchens now. And so that was just really important to me. So then what I did was my daughter said, you need to make a YouTube channel. So she helped me do it. And I made a YouTube channel, and I made a playlist called, Hey, I Can Make That. And then this way, they could see all these recipes that don't have many ingredients, and that they're on the lifestyle. They don't even have sugar, oil, or salt, and they taste good, and they're not hard to make. And so things just kept progressing, and I was fortunate that I have two daughters that love to do different things as far as social media and things like that. So they were very helpful to me. One of them helped me set up a little website. I just needed to, I felt that if I know this, there must be so many other people out there that don't, because I just happened to happen upon it on TBS. If I wasn't watching it that day, I probably wouldn't have seen it. And then where would my life be? And I felt like just compelled to share this information with as many people as I could. So one of my daughters said, you should try to not just do the recipe demos on your YouTube. Maybe you can get people to come on and interview them. So that's what I did. And one of them, she made me like an official countdown. She does voiceovers with Just Has a Voice. And so she made me an official countdown for it. And then I actually wound up finding lots of awesome people to interview. And now I've had on my Be Green with Amy YouTube, I've had over 280 episodes. I don't know if you can see yourself there, Meryl, but you were one of the awesome guests at the top. And I wound up, I interview people who are basically plant-based. They're either awesome people like you, Meryl, that are doing wonderful things. I have physicians, registered dietitians, and I even have a lot of people who have wonderful stories to share,
Mhm.
either about weight loss or improving their health and overcoming different lifestyle diseases. And then I was so excited because Chef AJ invited me to go on her show. And I've had, since I've made this slide, I've had other people who have, the Chef AJ has had me on a few times, but I've had other people who've also invited me on too. And just this opportunity to get on that platform and spread that word to
Yes.
get that big of an audience. Because in my mind, every time I do this, I say, somebody's looking on the internet because they're suffering, whether it's weight loss or some kind of a disease or a loved one, and they're looking for something. And some of them are stumbling upon paleo. And we need more of us out there doing this so that it's more likely that they're going to stumble upon this instead. And that's what gave me the ability to do that, which is, I'm just so grateful for. And it gives me a way to talk about the lifestyle to people that want to hear about it, instead of people that are like, okay, you already told us. And as we talked about, Meryl, we're both older. We're not, in our 20s. And there were things that now that I can do that I couldn't do when I was in my early 20s.
Wow.
And because I had the energy, because I didn't get all shaky when I was trying to work out. I mean, I used to have to eat something before I would exercise. I always tried to exercise, but that didn't change things for me. But once I started to eat this way, I had the stamina, and I really felt that it gave me the ability to do these things that I always wished that I could do.
Yeah, one thing I noticed with my two kids, they were not raised plant-based, but they were heavily plant forward, right? They weren't exclusive vegetable eaters, but both of them had allergies. Both of them were allergic to dairy products, and one of them was allergic to soy. The other one had some transient issue with wheat, I think. So part of the challenge, raising kids to be plant-based is, what do you do when they go to a friend's house?
Yeah.
One of the biggest problems. So for those two, like taking them to a birthday party was like a nightmare, because it's always ice cream and cake. So there's your dairy allergy right there, and pizza. Okay, there's another allergy right there. Just horrible. So I would wind up bringing separate food for them, and then they felt left out, or just very challenging, very, very challenging. Unless you have a group of kids who are eating similarly, or your child is really very mature and can understand that there's a reason for these differences and how they're being fed, it can be really quite a set of hurdles to get over to do that.
I would think so. So I mean, fortunately they were, in their early 20s or late teens when I did discover this. So I'm hoping not too much damage was done.
But one thing about plant-based eating, right? It heals a lot of old wounds.
Yes, it does.
Right? Yeah, it can reverse illnesses and challenges and manage all kinds of illnesses. So yeah. Really good.
One of my daughters, actually, especially in her late teens and when she was in college, was struggling with weight. I mean, she wasn't obese, but it was, each year was getting more weight gain, and it was a struggle for her. And while she was in college was when I discovered the lifestyle, and she was right on it. She bought into it immediately, and she, even to this day, she is so happy that I found out about this lifestyle, because she's trim and she's active and strong, and it's all because of that. I would imagine for her it would have been a different outcome. And so she's always saying how grateful she is that I discovered the lifestyle and introduced it to her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good.
So I have a question. So you said that there were things that you definitely would have done differently had you known.
Mhm.
There may be, what would you say for our parents or caregivers or educators or anyone who's watching now who may be wanting to incorporate small changes into their kids' lives now. Is there any piece of advice that you would say now, knowing what you have gone through?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of it depends on the age of the child, right? I mean, when the
Yeah.
young ones, they don't know any better and they just kind of go along with what you do. And you really but at all ages, you don't want it to be any kind of a power struggle. You have to act indifferent, I would think, when you're introducing this food to them. And I think it seems like children are more concerned about the animals than they are about the health reasons. So I would definitely encourage them to kind of lean into it and slowly introduce different things to them and have more of the healthy food and less of the not. But like you were saying, Meryl, it could be, especially if they're older and they're socializing, it could be difficult. So but I mean, any change that you make is good. And if you educate them, when kids, they want to know, they want to learn, they're very curious. And if you teach them about these things, then they'll be the role model for you. And I think that they'll catch on. So, I mean, if you pack healthy lunches for your children, like with maybe fresh or dried fruits or nuts or raw vegetables, and just let them have those choices. But you got to give them the freedom to eat what they want, but try to just make most of the choices the healthy foods. But if they prefer one over the other, I had interviewed Timmery Hagenberger. She's a nutrition professor, and she said that most people will like a food. It's just that sometimes they think they don't like it, but it's not that they don't like it. It's that they haven't yet had it prepared in a way that they like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When we first started talking to you, before we started recording this, you mentioned that you have free offers sometimes for
Yes.
people in the audience. Do you have one for our audience
Yes,
today?
I actually do. Actually, I have an offer for this 5 free recipes. So if you go on my website, which is begreenwithamy.com. So if you do begreenwithamy/join, then I will email to you 5 free recipes, and you'll see some pictures of me doing my plant-based things, and I'll have some motivational quotes, and then just kind of make it light. And I'm not going to bombard you with things after that. It's just that, and that's all you will get after and it'll come every few days, you'll get another one. And I think it just kind of, it's fun to see. I have what breakfasts maybe, or desserts, because guys, we eat dessert.
Yes.
A lot.
Love our desserts.
So, and they're very delicious. And so I have recipes for that as well. So yes, that is definitely something that I offer free. I also did make an ebook, and so if anybody was interested in that just kind of helps support my endeavors. And it's called, do you like flavor? Then this cookbook is for you, because especially people who don't have sugar, oil, or salt, a lot of them are missing out on that, and it's very difficult, especially when they're transitioning. And these are things that mostly that my hubby Rick developed, where he found ways where people who eat it, they don't realize that it doesn't have sugar, oil, or salt in it, because that's how good it tastes. It's not just but when you get to a certain point in this lifestyle, though, like for me, I could get a bag of frozen mixed vegetables, pop it in the microwave, put it in a bowl, maybe put a little balsamic vinegar on it, and I could just eat the bowl of vegetables and I'd be happy.
Yeah.
I could eat a plain baked potato and be very happy. So, but for people that are especially starting out, they really need ways. And we have there's certain seasonings that trick the tongue to make you aware. They make your tongue think that it's having salt, but it's not. So we know the seasonings that you can put in the foods. Yeah.
If you had one thing that you would tell people to do right now to get started or to make a difference, what would that be? Your last bit of advice, one thing.
Well, I would say find a simple hey, I can make that kind of plant-based recipe, because we all get busy and that gives us excuses not to shop or prepare the food. Just find something simple. And for some people, they can just dive in and do it all at once, but for most people, they can't. So I would just say, find that and eat it for lunch every day. I think lunch is that's the time when a lot of times we're out and we have temptations. So I think that if you can just eat the same one, make it very simple. Just find that, like what the recipe that I was talking about that you can make. Just find one recipe and eat that for lunch every day for a week. Now, if you're on medications, though, especially for blood pressure or diabetes, I mean, you guys are in the medical field, so be careful, because I mean, you could become dangerously over medicated in a short amount of time by just changing even one meal a day. So which is it's good if you can lower your glucose and your sodium levels so that you can have lower blood pressure. But you want to make sure that you're monitoring yourself so that you can share that with your physician. And then, so that would be it. Just do that. And I think that you'll notice a difference, but it won't make that much of a big change for you. And then try to find another recipe and see if you can change another meal once or twice a week. And then it just slowly build upon it. And don't feel bad if you don't do it right or something, or if you have a hiccup where you have something that you don't think that you should have, because the next meal is a opportunity for a reset.
Yeah,
Great advice. Great advice.
I love that advice.
Yeah. Well, I think we may have come to the end. Not that we couldn't keep talking for another 2.5 hours.
I'm enjoying this chat so much. I'm really,
Yes, me too.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
think you guys are like me, that any opportunity that you can get to tell people about this, it's just very special.
Yeah. Yeah. And especially, in our case, for the younger generation, we want people to understand, chicken nuggets are not normal kid food, Mac and cheese is wonderful, yummy, yummy, but it's not just like normal kid food. That's not the only thing children will eat.
Yeah.
Children will eat a variety of fruits and vegetables and whole grains and beans and fruits and nuts and seeds and all of that. We just have to offer it and make it fun, make it non-judgmental, make it yummy, and there you go. That's really all it takes. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So thanks so much, Amy. It has been a pleasure speaking with you, and we will do this again sometime soon, I'm sure.
I know that you did this with me on my show, Meryl, but maybe both of you would like to join me, because I have a tagline that I use. Maybe we could do that before we end.
Okay, sure.
Okay, so this is my tagline, and we can all say it together if you like, or at least you can say the last part to get together with me. So until I see all of you again, remember, be strong, be well, and be
green.
Thank you, ladies. Thanks so much, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Amy.
Bye.
6 Million Seeds is made possible by the generosity of Bruno Chiropractic, Acme Construction Metals, EXP Realty, and Deck It Out Builders. We thank you for your support.